Joining us live, as he does every week, Simon Welsh, the director of RedBridge Group. Simon, good to see you, and it's a great week to talk to you because it's a week in which there was a lot of consternation over Gladys Berejiklian announcing that she wouldn't be fronting the daily media conference. She's not going to do that today. She did do it yesterday, but it's not happening today. What are groups telling you about how much they want to hear from political leaders and whether that's beneficial politically or otherwise?
Yeah, and g'day Laura, thanks for having me. We've been hearing a lot this week about media and presses and those sorts of things. And I think it really comes, there's sort of another one of these terrible COVID tensions at the moment. So what we're seeing is, yes, there's a large group of people that are saying, yep, we're frustrated, we're over it, and, we're feeling a bit exhausted by it all. But equally, there's this sense that we've still got a long way to go and we're probably coming into the most complicated or the trickiest part of this as we start to sort of thread the needle on reopening. So what we really want is we want to hear clarification of what's coming out of government. We want to hear explanation of the figures to help us make sense of what's happening. And critically, we want to understand why changes are being made, where changes are happening, because people get quite nervous when they're not sure about the why. So in that kind of need, what we're seeing is people are saying, well, that's where the presses, where the media's, that opportunity to sort of discuss and interrogate some of those things that are coming out of government, that's where it becomes really important because it helps us make sense and it helps us understand what's really happening. So there's a very strong desire for it.
Simon, so what are you picking up? That people aren't necessarily watching the hour-long media conferences, but they appreciate that the media journalists are there on their behalf asking the tough questions and they still want that to happen?
That's right. So I don't think there's too many of us tuning in for the full hour anymore. Some people might sort of tune in at the start, get the headlines, get out. But as I say, what people are really wanting is that sort of digested, here are the facts, here's what's said, here's what's changing, here's why it's changing. So the reporting around it becomes very important because, there's few people right now that kind of have the mindset to subject themselves to an hour of dwelling on this stuff. So, if the media can do that for us, then thank you.
Yes, indeed. What else are you picking up in the groups? Because there is that fatigue that we have talked about for some weeks now, but there's a little bit of hope on the horizon as well. How is this manifesting?
Yeah, so we're certainly, we're continuing to see vaccines, the gains being made there really sort of driving the hope. We're continuing to see the talk around freedoms for the double vaxxed, vaccine passports. Largely these things are supported. I think the big questions that are coming out around those sorts of things is, well, how's it going to work? How are you going to police that? How are you going to make it happen? People have sort of moved on from the should it happen, which is probably where they were about a month or so ago. They're now more into, well, how's it going to happen? How are we going to police
really
these
interesting.
things?
Sorry to interrupt. So on the vaccine passport, and when we say vaccine passport, we're talking about, when you go back to some kind of normal life, go to big events, restaurants, that most people accept that you will have to check in and show proof of vaccination. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And there's sort of there's a couple of sort of levels to it. The first is, obviously, if I'm double vaccinated, I can get some freedoms and sort of get back to a bit more of a normal life, not completely normal, then that's also good for me. But what people are saying to us is it's not just that. It's those local businesses particularly that have sort of done so much, sacrificed so much through the past year and a half to keep their staff employed. Some of them have turned themselves into soup kitchens and helped their communities. If by opening up a little earlier for double vax people, if we can help those businesses, then that's a bonus as well. So it is kind of a bit of self-interest on the one hand, but it also is this kind of almost sort of altruistic sort of thing about wanting it to be part of the sort of the economic revival, economic recovery, and particularly for those smaller businesses.
Simon, we've been talking about today that business are really stepping up. They're urging, people to get vaccinated, whether it's their staff, they're getting ready to welcome patrons back that are fully vaccinated, but they're copying a bit of backlash there. What are you hearing from these groups about, whether how this is policed or the decisions that individual companies and small businesses are making on that?
Yeah. Well, as I say, the mainstream of support is there. And that the main concerns are really around sort of how does it police it? How are you going to make sure it works efficiently? And, there's a lot of business people sort of saying, quite rightly, we're not a police force. So you need, whatever you're going to do, you're going to have to make it easy for us and easy to implement and those sorts of things. I think, look, if I was advising businesses, I would be saying to them, yes, you want to be talking to government about, mandating this, make it a government problem, not a business problem, if I was advising them.
Yep, very good. All right, Simon, thanks so much. Good to see you.
No worries. Thanks, Laura. Bye.